Hi everyone, this is going to be a video response to Patcondell's latest video about Islamophobia in America. Now, I've made a couple of videos to Patcondell before, and I have to say I don't really get that many rabid Condellites spamming my channel with comments about how I'm a left-wing Islamo sympathizer or a stealth jihadist. It's very disappointing. But maybe it will change with this video, who knows. Pat, you say that there's no such thing as Islamophobia, and you know what, I'd like to point out a few things to you, Pat, and all relevant links will be in the low bar so you can go and see for yourself to make sure I'm not, just making shit up. A Pew Research Poll shows that in August 2010, 18% of Americans believe Obama is a Muslim, either ignoring or completely unaware of the multiple times he said that he isn't and how important his Christian faith is to him. Now, this is not a positive attribute that they are ascribing to the president. Not for them, anyway. They mean it in a totally negative way. In the same way, a lot of people, or maybe the same people, think that Obama is a socialist. There's nothing wrong really in being a socialist, but when someone calls Obama a socialist, they're not exactly doing it with a smile on their face. Maybe you didn't hear about that Pol Pot. Anyway. Again, there was another incident in 2007 where an American Iranian named Zohreh Assemi, she was attacked when she tried to open her high-end nail salon. Again, links in the low bar. She was dragged inside her salon, her hand was smashed with a hammer, they stole money from the till, about $2,000, and sliced her with a box cutter. And they also scrawled anti-Muslim slurs on her mirrors. Now this attack comes after 2 weeks of phone calls in which she was called a terrorist and was told to, quote, get out of town. But that wasn't because she was Muslim, was it, Pat? No, they must have just been unhappy customers who were disappointed about their latest manicure. But again, maybe you didn't hear about that. Perhaps you didn't hear about this either. In 2006, when Keith Ellison, a Democrat, became the first Muslim congressman, Republican Virgil Goode said in a letter that unless America adopts stricter immigration policies, that there will be many more Muslims elected to office. But again, that's not Islamophobic, is it, Pat? No, he's not trying to exploit the fear a lot of Americans have about Muslims, was he? And I'm also going to link in the low bar to a video that D-Land and Cole did recently about the same video. His video is better than mine. Probably should go and check it out. But he brought up this quote that Ann Coulter said. She said, quote, "We should invade their countries, kill their leaders, and convert them to Christianity." Obviously talking about Muslims. What was that if not Islamophobic? If not being completely hateful and violent towards every single Muslim that lives on this earth? You also said, Pat, that Islamophobia is an irrational fear, and there's nothing irrational about fear in Islam. There is an irrational fear, though, in portraying every Muslim as some sort of terrorist in waiting, and with that bigotry in mind, trying to stop Muslims from doing something that anyone else would be allowed to do, as we found out with the Not Mosque at Not Ground Zero, another example of prejudice against Muslims in America. If the people opposed to the building just saw each Muslim as an individual person, shock horror, without the narrow-minded bullshit that comes out of certain TV personalities and pundits' mouths lodged in their brains, I guarantee you that they would not have a problem with it. But they don't. They equate the Muslims wanting to build their community centre with the ones that flew those planes into the Twin Towers, and that is the irrational part. Fearing and hating Muslims who had nothing to do with what happened on 9/11, and who in fact probably denounce the attacks just as much as they do. You also say it's irrational to indulge Islam and to treat it like any other religion, and you compare it to a predatory animal, saying that one day you will be eaten and you will deserve it. I'm sure that all Muslims who watch your video will be very pleased to hear you compare them to some sort of dangerous dog who will at any moment, for any reason, tear your face off. And don't tell me that's not what you were doing, because you were. Islam itself will not eat you, but the follower of Islam's will, according to your rhetoric. Scary, scary Muslims, oh! And the last quote I'm going to take from your video, Pat, you said that Islamic supremacist pressure groups falsely claim to speak for all Muslims. Pat, you are just as bad as the extremist groups you mentioned that claim to speak for all Muslims, because with this and many of your other videos, you are classifying all Muslims as one big solid entity, never differentiating from a single path, completely unrelenting and unmoving, which is just complete nonsense. You may not believe this, Pat, but there are Muslims who don't want to kill you and put your head on top of their nearest mosque. You talk about groups that claim to speak on behalf of every Muslim, yet you seem more than happy than trying to paint all the 1.5 billion Muslims on this planet with the same brush. You know, Pat, with all the drama that goes on YouTube and even in our little atheistic corner of YouTube, with all the shifting friendships and allegiances, people who leave, who change channels, it's nice to see that some things never change, like your arguments. Cheerio.